Good morning and welcome to West Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Valerie Lynch and I'm serving as your worship associate for this morning's service. Welcome as we continue to offer our services on Zoom in these pandemic days. We're so glad you're here this morning. Everyone is welcome here, regardless of your gender identity, sexual orientation. We strive to be a community where everyone can be their true selves. You're welcome regardless of education level, financial status, political leanings, immigration status, or any of the other labels that can be used to divide people. They do not do so here. Thank you for coming this morning. We're very glad you're here. I have two announcements this morning. Mary Lynn Schroyer will be leading a food drive for the Valley View Food Bank next Sunday, the 14th. And there'll be a black box marked FB on the church patio. Please drop off non-perishable food items there. And contact Mary Lynn for other options, how to donate food. And we can probably get contact information after the program today if you need it. Our social hours continue for the next 2 Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Contact Sandra Mahoney for information on that. We now begin our service with opening words and the lighting of the chalice. This reading is by Reverend William F. Schultz. This is the mission of our faith, to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. Let us now read together our covenant. Love is the doctrine of our congregation. The quest for truth is our holy right, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in friendship, thus do we covenant. Each week in our service, we take up an offering. We are not meeting together in person, but it's still important to take care of our church community and continue the spiritual practice of offering financial contributions. Please take a few minutes to prepare a check to mail or donate in the link that will be in the chat box or on our website. Thank you. I'm so happy this morning to introduce our guest speakers, Arnulfo Marroquin and James Mulholland. Arnulfo was an immigrant from El Salvador. He will share his experiences with us this morning. Jim Mulholland is the executive director of COCODA, which is Companion Community Development Alternative, an organization that does a lot of good work in the communities in Central America. Also with us is Junior Gomez, also with COCODA, who will help with translations. Jim is joining us from Indianapolis, and Arnulfo and Junior are zooming in from El Salvador. So Jim will start out.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation to be with you today. Just a word about our organization. We started in the late 1980s when many of you will remember there was a terrible civil war in El Salvador. And our founders actually were two college students who met in a refugee camp, United Nations refugee camp in Honduras in the mid-80s. They came home and they created an organization to lobby the Congress to end the military support for the government in El Salvador. They, along with many other organizations, were successful in ending that funding. And within 6 months after the ending of the funding, there was a peace accord in El Salvador. They were going to set the organization down, but at that point, the families in the refugee camp said, you know, we're going home to nothing. All of their homes, farms, communities have been destroyed. And so our organization began as an organization to help people return from the refugee camps to those communities. And so we've always been focused and very much being companions to different communities in Central America. Their needs have changed over the years. In the beginning, it was housing, land reform, then it was schools, clinics. Now we're doing solar-powered water systems. So depending on what the communities needed, we've tried to adjust. In 2017, we also expanded to Nicaragua because that country is another country with, unfortunately, a similar history with the United States and many of the same similar challenges because of our interventions. Today, it's our good fortune to have Arnulfo, and I'll let Junior introduce him in a second here. But just one last word from me, and that is that I remember in 1995, the first time I went to Central America, one of my concerns was that people would ask me to help them come to the United States. That turned out to be somewhat of a ridiculous concern. No one asked me in my 3 weeks there to help them come to the United States. And in the 25 years since, that's never happened. And it shouldn't be a surprise. I think one of the things I finally realized is that we all love home. Home is a special place for all of us. And it really takes some terrible circumstances to consider leaving home. And so I think that's the context in which we're going to talk today. We're going to talk to someone who felt that that was his only choice. And he represents, unfortunately, thousands of people in similar situations. So I'm going to turn it over to Junior, who will introduce Arnulfo, and then he will do the translation for his story of his life, story of his visit to the United States.
Very good. I will pass it on to Arnulfo, and I will try to interpret for you.
Mi nombre es Luis Arnulfo Marroquín Herrera.
My name is Luis Arnulfo Marroquín Herrera.
Tengo 40 años.
I am 40 years old.
Yo fui a Estados Unidos en el 2005.
I went to the United States in 2005.
Un día, sábado 5 de marzo, me despedí de mi familia.
I remember at Saturday, 25th of May, 5th of May, I had to say goodbye to my family.
Luego de la despedida, que fue bastante dolorosa para mi padre y mi madre,
Then after the difficult goodbye I had to say to my mom and my dad,
Nos dirigimos hasta Guatemala ese mismo día en camiones que transportan ganado, bueyes, vacas.
and we were moved all the way to Guatemala the very first day on cattle trucks.
Luego desde Guatemala nos dirigimos hacia la frontera que está entre Guatemala y México, cerca del Petén, en autobuses.
And then from Guatemala City, we were moved to the border with Mexico and Guatemala, which is in the area of Petén. We were driven there on buses.
Para cruzar la frontera tuvimos que hacerlo en el bosque espeso y nos transportaron en trocas de 4 a 5 personas en cada carro 4x4.
And then in order to avoid the border checkpoints, we have to be driven in pickup trucks through the woods. And we were like 4 people in each of the pickup trucks to be driven through the woods.
La mayoría que íbamos entonces teníamos bastante temor, ya que nunca habíamos tenido la experiencia, primero de dejar la familia y luego de estar en una selva en la que se escuchaban por las noches ruidos extraños.
So for all of us in that trip, it was hard because none of us had experience traveling before, and it was hard for us to be away from home and actually going through that jungle with unknown noises and terrifying noises.
Luego, después de que cruzamos la frontera, nos llevaron en pick-up 4 o 5 personas acostados y encima de nosotros unos costales con paja para que no nos vieran. Más o menos eso duró como 2 horas hasta que llegamos a un río.
So, and then right behind the border in Mexico, we were driven in a pickup truck, but we were laying down in the back of the pickup truck, and on top of us were some bags of hay, so we could be covered. And we were driven 2 hours on those pickup trucks, lying down until a point next to a river.
Luego que llegamos al río, nos dieron las indicaciones que allí nos iba a recoger un furgón.
And then on the river, we were given the instructions that we were waiting for a big truck to pick us up, those big trucks that carry products through different countries.
Es así que a las 10 de la noche de ese día llegó el furgón a la carretera, caminamos como media hora para llegar a la carretera y luego entramos las 98 personas en la mitad del vagón, de la mitad hacia abajo.
And then we had to walk 30 minutes to get to the road, and then the truck was there waiting for us. And then
98.
And then 98 people that were waiting for that truck were put in the bottom of the container in the back of the truck.
La mitad hacia abajo, un espacio como de 1 metro, era para nosotros, donde solamente cabíamos sentados.
And then the high place for us inside the wagon or the container was 1 meter tall, so all of us could fit, but lying down or sitting down, not standing up.
Tenía 2 compuertas que estaban abiertas, pero cuando estábamos cerca de llegar a las casetas que están entre cada estado de México, ahí las tenían que cerrar.
On the drive, there were 2 doors on the sides that were open, but when we were about to reach the lines between states in Mexico, the checkpoints were there and we had to close those doors.
En algunas estaciones era bastante el tiempo que se tardaban ellos en revisar el furgón. Es por eso que teníamos que aguantar la respiración todo ese tiempo. A veces era 1 hora, a veces 2 horas.
So in some of those checkpoints, there were delays checking the truck. So we have to be very quiet and trying to manage to keep up with the breathing because the air was already used by the occupants. But sometimes it took 1 hour, the checkpoint, or sometimes it took longer than that, 2 hours or more.
La otra mitad del furgón llevaba melones y sandías.
On top of us was a product, those were melons and watermelons.
Entonces, en cada estación, los policías con sus macanas golpeaban y nos llamaban, hey, ustedes están allí, hablen, díganos algo. Pero los coyotes decían que no dijéramos nada.
So in each of those checkpoints between states, the police officers were knocking on the walls of the container, and they were calling for us. Hey guys, we know you are there, so come out. Don't suffocate yourself inside there. But we have to be very quiet because we were given the instruction by the coyotes to be quiet.
A nosotros nos dijeron el tipo de peligro al que nos íbamos a enfrentar en el camino. Y sabíamos que debíamos de aguantar todo eso por la ilusión de llegar a Estados Unidos.
We were told of all the difficulties and challenges we were going to be facing on the way there, but we were told that we have to be very tolerant to all those circumstances in order to make the goal to get to the United States.
Después de 2 días, llegamos a un hotel. Cuando nos bajamos del furgón, nadie podía moverse, nadie. Caíamos como una pelota, así, y nos recogían y nos llevaban a un salón grande para asearnos.
So we were 2 days inside that container, and then when we reached the point that we were taken to a hotel, we were when we jumped out of the container, we couldn't move our legs, so we were dropped as balls on the ground, and we were picked up by our friends that were like stretching out already, and they helped us to get inside in order to take some cleaning and bathing.
Allí nos dieron otras indicaciones. Nos dijeron que teníamos que adoptar el lenguaje mexicano, aprender el himno mexicano, usar camisas cuadriculadas, desabrocharnos, enseñar el pecho, y porque íbamos ya rumbo hacia la región del norte de México y toda la población de allí se vestía así y hablaba así.
So once there, we were given all the instructions to dress up like Mexicans and try to speak like Mexicans because we were reaching the northern part of Mexico, and we have to pretend to be a Mexican in order to avoid the authorities.
Nos fuimos en autobuses y nos dieron 500 pesos. Esos 500 pesos se los teníamos que dar al motorista si el motorista sospechaba que nosotros no éramos mexicanos.
So we were given 500 Mexican pesos, and then we were told that that was the bribe to give to the driver of the bus because we were moving on buses from there. If the bus driver recognized us as not Mexican citizens, we have to bribe them with these 500 pesos.
Así fue día y noche, durante varios días, varias noches, hasta que llegamos a Chihuahua.
And that was the situation, traveling day and night, couple of days, couple of nights, until we made it to Chihuahua.
Allí nos refugiaron en un hotel abandonado y nos dieron las últimas indicaciones.
So we were put in an abandoned hotel, and we were given the last instructions before crossing the border.
A ese lugar llegaban muchas personas que ya habían hecho un intento o 2 intentos, ya que los coyotes te dan 3 intentos.
So in that place, we were reunited with a lot of other people, and some of those had already experienced traveling or trying once or twice before. And so there was a lot of people there with those experiences. And the thing is, like the coyotes, when you hire their services, they give you 3 auctions to make the trip, and in the turn time you can make it through the U.S.
Entonces nosotros veíamos a muchas personas que llegaban cortadas, espinadas, otras llegaban zafadas o quebradas con fracturas en su cuerpo, pero tenían ganas siempre de hacer sus últimos intentos.
So at that point, we realized that that's the place where you meet a lot of people that had tried before, and you could see them being stung by thorns, people with broken bones, or people with dehydration and all type of like suffering signs that they have been trying before, but they were again trying to make it.
Cuando nos dijeron que esa noche empezábamos a caminar, nos dijeron que en 3 días y 3 noches íbamos a cruzar la frontera. Esto sí se movía una patrulla desde un lugar en específico.
So that night, the night there, we were told that we were going to walk towards the border, and we were be careful if there was a border patrol there and the border patrol moved away, that was going to be our chance to cross the border.
Si esa patrulla no se movía, teníamos que caminar 8 días.
And if that border patrol didn't move from there, we have to go around and walk 8 days.
Y bueno, como a las 7 de la noche, exactamente de ese día, yo soy una persona que creo en Dios y sirvo a mi iglesia acá en El Salvador. Entonces muchas personas me conocían y me dijeron que hiciéramos una oración. Y así lo hicimos las 98 personas en una habitación.
So the night when we were going to depart, as in my person as Christian, I prayed along the way. So the people that were with me asked me to direct a prayer, and we, the 98 people that were traveling together, made a prayer, and then we departed to our destiny.
Así fue que hicimos la oración para que todos pasáramos, ninguno se quedara, y si alguien tuviera dificultades, los demás nos apoyaríamos, todos. Esto no tiene nada que ver con las indicaciones de los coyotes, no, uno es mercancía, uno significa dinero para ellos, pero nosotros como personas sí nos valoramos mutuamente.
So we were together, and we made the promise that we were going to support each other on the way there, because this was against the coyotes rules, but that was, we created a kind of like solidarity in the group that we wanted to be helping each other if that was needed.
Y así fue que empezamos a caminar durante 3 días y 3 noches. Gracias a Dios, la patrulla se movió porque estaba haciendo un clima bastante frío y logramos hacerlo en las 3 días y las 3 noches hasta una ciudad que se llama Bella Vista o Buena Vista en Texas.
So luckily the patrol moved because it was cold. Probably the guys went for coffee or something, but we were able to make it in 3 days. I must clarify that when he said 3 days means that during the day they were hiding and they took advantage to walk in the night, and they were lucky to make it through a city called Bella Vista, which is in Texas.
Bueno, cuando llegamos a esa ciudad, después de haber caminado en montañas y en planicies, nos fuimos a encontrar a muchas personas de Honduras, Guatemala, incluso del Caribe, de Colombia. Muchas personas estaban en ese lugar solamente esperando que los fueran a recoger sus coyotes.
And then we were taken to a place where there was a lot of other people waiting for their coyotes to be picked up and to be delivered in the United States to the destinies they were going to. And that was people from all over Latin America, even the Caribbean.
A nosotros nos dieron un galón de agua y un paquete de galletas que contienen 12 galletas para 3 días u 8 días, dependiendo si la patrulla se movía o no. Entonces, ahí nos encontramos a personas que tenían 8 días abandonados, sin comer, sin tomar agua.
So we were given a gallon of water and a package of 12 cookies and or cookie bags. And then when we were there, we met people that had been there abandoned. Nobody came to pick them up, and they were starving and they were thirsty.
Es ahí que nosotros, como nos íbamos protegiendo juntos, les entregamos, nosotros sabíamos que ese día nos iban a trasladar hasta Los Ángeles. Entonces, les entregamos nuestras galletas, nuestra agua a toda esta gente. La mayoría era de Guatemala y a nosotros sí nos fueron, a las 4 horas nos fueron a recoger.
Para llevarnos a Los Ángeles.
Correcto.
So we were picked up 4 hours after we got there. So we were able to give this food and water to the people that were there. And we were taken to Los Angeles, and that was good because we were able to share our food with those people that needed it.
A Los Ángeles nos transportaron en un microbús, las 98 personas, los hombres primero, luego las mujeres y luego los niños, como cebollitas en estas posiciones.
There was a big band that came to pick us up, and then the 98 people were put inside that van, and we had to be hiding there, and there was like 3 rows of people. So the first line was on the floor, and then on top of that was a woman, and on top of that was a young adolescent or whoever was thinner to be 3 in a line. So, and that's how we all fit there.
A nosotros no nos importaba el sufrimiento, ni el hambre, ni la sed. Nosotros queríamos llegar a Estados Unidos y cumplir nuestro sueño.
So for us, we didn't care about hunger or thirst. We just wanted to make our goal that was to get to the United States.
Ya en Los Ángeles, a los 3 días de estar en Los Ángeles, en un hotel, mi familia me recogió y después fui a vivir con ellos.
So, and after 3 days being at a hotel, hiding in a hotel in Los Angeles, my family came, picked me up, and then I lived with them.
Sí. Antes de conseguir un trabajo formal, estuve trabajando en jardinería y recogía cartón y lo vendía.
So the job I did was, before I got a kind of more formal job in the US, I used to work on landscaping, and I used to go on those days that I didn't have job. I went out to pick paperboard, and the recycled paperboard, and I sold it.
Sí. Después conseguí mi trabajo en una market, un supermercado, y desde allí hasta cuando me vine limpiando pescado.
And then I got a job at a marketplace where I worked from there until I returned to my country. I spent my time there, like working in the seafood area, and I was cleaning fish.
En diciembre del 2009, mi papá y mi mamá se pusieron graves de salud y no había nadie responsable para cuidarlos. Entonces decidí regresar en febrero del 2010.
So on December 2009, my parents got sick, and I was worried that nobody was going to take care of them. So I decided to buy the ticket for February to come back to my country.
Sí. Durante esos 5 años logré hacer mi casa, comprar el terreno. Cuando vine, con el dinero que tenía ahorrado, la hice un poco más grande y gracias a Dios ya tengo donde seguir mi vida con mi esposa y primero Dios mis hijos.
So when I was there in those 5 years, I bought the land to build my house. I built my house being there. And then when I got back with the savings I had here, I made my house a little bit bigger. And then I am here living with my wife, my parents nearby, and hopefully children in the future.
Mi padre tiene 81 años, mi mamá 76, todavía están vivos y yo sigo con ellos. Valió la pena el esfuerzo y el sacrificio por ellos.
My father is 89, my mom is 79. Sorry, 81 father, and the mother is 79. And he said that it was worth it to do the sacrifice to go there, because now I can spend time with them here.
Cuando estuve en Estados Unidos, ayudé a 5 personas para que se fueran a Estados Unidos y trabajar. Y no eran mi familia, solamente una persona era mi sobrino.
So when I was there, a couple of friends of mine asked me to help them to get there too, because they wanted to help their family. So I helped 4 people to get there, and then there was, and those were just my friends, but there was somebody that was my nephew also that I helped. The 5th person was a nephew. I feel happy because I helped them get there, and now they can help their families.
No es cualquier persona la que logra llegar a Estados Unidos. Muchos mueren en el camino, otras personas pierden su terreno, sus casas. Es algo bien lamentable. Yo, gracias a Dios, regresé vivo, regresé en avión, no fui deportado y sigo agradeciéndole a la vida la oportunidad, ya que muchas personas no lo logran hacer.
It's very lucky to get to the United States, because not everybody makes it. Some people try like many times and they can make it. And so the problem is that to make it there, you have to take a loan. And when you don't make it, so all the properties, if you have any property, it's lost, or you live the rest of your life with a huge loan and paying back that loan. So I feel very grateful to God because I was able to make it, and I didn't. I wasn't deported. I made the decision to come back. I bought my ticket and I took a plane and came back here, and I was so fortunate on my experience. Las razones por las que la gente se va. He's asking me if there is any other thing that I would like to write. I said, like, probably in the last minute, the reasons why he decided to go.
Ok, en este país yo no tuve oportunidades. Mi vida es la agricultura. Mi padre me enseñó a sembrar y a cosechar maíz, frijoles, ayote, a pescar, pero yo había estudiado hasta bachillerato y yo creía de que eso no era suficiente y este país no me daba más opciones.
So I decided to move there because my father taught me how to fish, how to work on the cornfields, the beans, plantations, plant some other agriculture stuff. But and I got education because my father's helped me with education through high school. But my country requires more than high school to get like a decent income or a job opportunity. And I thought that this is my time. This is when I mean, I'm young, I can do something, but maybe not here. So that's why I decided to go there, because I needed another opportunity for me.
Y así fue que decidí irme, pero sacrificando mi familia, sacrificando mi vida también. No sabía lo que me esperaba, pero mi fe en Dios me decía que yo sí iba a llegar y sí iba a volver con bien.
So I made the decision, not clear what was going to expect for me out there, and just concerned about like the stories of the difficulties and dangers of the way there. But I had strong faith in God, and I thought that God was going to protect me, and I was going to have that opportunity. But I had to put my effort, and that was to leave behind my family and my friends and community, and make it there. And luckily, I can testify that I did it as I expected.
Sí. La mayoría de mis compañeros, todos emigraron, otros se hicieron policías, pero universitarios tal vez uno o dos. Eh, la universidad cuesta, hay que pagar mucho dinero para estudiar una carrera y todos los de mi condición no teníamos esas posibilidades. Por eso optábamos mejor en emigrar y hacernos de nuestra vida en otro lado, en otro país, ya que aquí no habían oportunidades.
So my promotion from school, most of them decided to continue in the agriculture because that was the only left way to go. Or some of them decided to join the police, but this country is a real risk to be a police officer. And some of us decided to go to the United States and try to find another opportunity, but unfortunately away from home. So is there any concern for now, or how you want to do it? You want to wait for the...
Well, we can continue with questions and answers and conversation at the conclusion. So we'll just continue with a little more of this service, and then we can have our conversation. So thank you for staying on with us.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to us.
Yeah, I really want to thank Arnulfo and Jim and Yunya for coming this morning and giving this wonderful talk. I'm sure many of us learned a lot. And it's different when you read something in the paper and when you meet someone personally. So thank you for that. And I invite everyone to stay after the service for some Q&A. And so we have a comment. I don't know if you can see our comments in your, but it says, thank you for your courage and faith. So
Valerie,
we'll continue.
Valerie, if I could just add one thing, and then I think
Sure.
the many times I hear these stories, the part that always startles me is people praying to God that God will protect them and bring them to the United States. And it's such an irony when I think about those of faith in the United States who often, I think, don't understand both this desire and how faith and courage is part of this journey. So.
Yeah. Very much so. Okay. Let us read now together our mission statement as we come to the end of our service. Oops. This congregation provides a safe place to celebrate diversity, draw inspiration for our lives, foster social and environmental justice, and compassionately support each other in our spiritual searches. We now extinguish our chalice with words from an anonymous source found in our hymnal at number 434. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to the community, and to each other. I want to thank the people who were so important in this service. First, our speakers, Arnulfo, Junior, and Jim, and Paul for your wonderful technical skills, Joe and Barry for the music, and Paul for your singing in our postlude. After the postlude, we'll share our joys and concerns, and that's when the recording ends due to respecting privacy concerns. And then please stay on with our fellowship time with our guests. Thank you again for coming this morning.
Thank you for this precious day, these gifts you give to me. My heart so full of love for you sings praise for all I see. Oh, sing for every mother's love, for every childhood tear. Oh, sing for all the stars above, the peace beyond all fear. Esto es por los refugios, la gente sin hogar. Un barco afuera en el océano, una calle tan sola. No son los hijos de cariño madre, no son como tú y yo. Estamos nosotros que sufren la vergüenza y ellos el sacrificio. Or are they just like falling leaves who give themselves away? From dust to dust, from sea to sheer, and to another day. If I could only have one wish of all I can conceive, 'twould be to see another spring and bless these falling leaves. Thank you for this precious day, these gifts you give to me. My heart's so full